Right, let's turn our attention then to the Monday night football. It's a huge game that's already got plenty of extra spice. Newcastle against Liverpool at St James's Park. One person who, of course, won't be playing is Alexander Isak, the transfer saga of the summer. Liverpool have had one bid turned down. He's adamant that he won't play for Newcastle again, accusing them of breaking promises. Newcastle have denied any commitment that he could leave the club this summer. Well, Sky Sports have partnered with Finalysis, an app where passionate fans known as Fanlists share their opinions on the club. If you want to represent your club, you can scan the QR code here or visit the Sky Sports app for more details. And that is exactly what Chris Curry, the Newcastle supporter, and Liverpool fan Connor Ray have done. Good morning to both of you. Chris, we'll come to you first. I mean, Liverpool-Newcastle is a great fixture, under the lights too. It was a cracking game at St James's last season, but tonight, plenty more added spice.
Yeah, good morning, guys. Great to be on and talk to you about this game. As you say, it's probably the biggest, this game, one of the best fixtures in Premier League history. I think some of the best games league's ever seen has been in this fixture. Obviously, there's a little bit extra spice in it with everything that's gone on in the summer. And it is easy for the thought process of one player that isn't going to play for either club to overshadow the game. But I think the game itself will be a huge spectacle. I think the crowd at St James's Park, we've had some massive games over the last couple of years, certainly under Eddie Howe in this takeover, where the atmosphere has been electric. You think of PSG, Arsenal. I can see it being even louder tonight, and every single fan in there will be supporting the players who want to wear that shirt and not players who don't want to wear that shirt.
Connor, does it make it a tougher game for you, everything that's going on, do you think?
Yeah, undoubtedly. I think, Newcastle and St James's Park, as Chris mentions there, it's always a difficult place to go. And if, like ourselves, if there's one fan base that doesn't need any encouragement to get fired up and to make it even harder to go to their own ground, then it's Newcastle fans. So yeah, I think it's absolutely bound to be a difficult test. But champions have got to do what champions do and try and deal with that pressure. Maybe try and silence the crowd early on and take it from there. Try and stay in control of the game. We saw in the World Cup final last season how that didn't happen when Newcastle players and fans were arguably more up for it than Liverpool were, and what the result of that can be. So I think it's important we don't let that happen tonight.
Chris, if Alexander Isak stays, do you want him back in the matchday squad, or are you in the camp of just allowing him just to rot and not play? Because my opinion is, if he's still part of the football club and the window shuts, I think he'll be back in the matchday squad and playing for Newcastle again. What's your opinion on that?
Yeah, I'll try not to get splinters answering this question, Charlie, to be honest. But there's two ways to look at it. There's the emotional response and the logical response. The emotional response is, as a Newcastle fan, you're outraged at the behaviour and the statements and all of the refusal to play for the club and everything else. But the logical side of you as a fan says you've got the third best centre forward on the planet in your squad, and if he is still here when the window shuts, you would be crazy not to integrate him back into the squad. I mean, Eddie Howe spoke very well, as he always does, and I would trust Eddie Howe's judgment on the player. If Eddie Howe thinks for 1 second there's a slight chance that he hasn't got the mentality to come back in this squad and give his all, I don't think Eddie Howe would want him anywhere near the squad, and I think he'd already be a Liverpool player now if that was the case, regardless of the replacements coming in. But Eddie seems to have faith that it can change, and the noises have slightly changed a little bit going into this last week of the transfer window. I think Liverpool will come back with a bid, but I'm not sure there's going to be enough to get the deal done.
And Connor, just on that one, Liverpool have obviously only bid once for him, yeah? I look at it now, if they really wanted him, they obviously do, and it's going to be important, they're obviously waiting, but they've gone, Newcastle have gone, it's 150 million. How I look at it at the moment is, yes, if Liverpool can get him in, it'd be fantastic. But I've been a bit surprised with how well Ekatike's done. He's led the line for Liverpool, superb. I mean, is that in a thought process of, do we now need two? Do we need both? Because 150 million is a lot of money.
Yeah, it is a lot of money, and it's it'd be certainly looking at the deals that Liverpool have done in the last couple of years. It'd be sort of unheard of for us to go and spend that kind of money on a player as well. So it needs to be right. It needs to be the right deal for all involved, and of course it has to meet what Newcastle want as well. Yeah, I think Ekitike coming in and doing so well is a really interesting one. I think we all knew we were getting a top player, and I think from Liverpool's side, and I trying not to trying to stay well away from Chris's kind of the as he said, the splintered opinion on it and the emotional side of it. Because I think from a Liverpool side, it's a really interesting one. You're looking at it and going, yeah, we wanted Isak first. Yes, he's obviously one of the top forwards in Europe at the moment. Failing that, we went and got Ekitike, who's also in that bracket, but certainly a bit more up and coming, but one of the top forwards at the moment, and he's proven that as well. Would it be nice to have them both? Yeah, I think both. There was a point in the window where probably both Chris and I would have said the same thing when I think the noise coming out of Newcastle were potentially to have them playing together. The thought of having them playing together at Liverpool is certainly enticing. But yeah, 150 million is a lot of money, and whether we're willing to pay that or not, my instinct is that if we do go back in with a bid, it might settle somewhere in the middle, and we'll find some middle ground there. 150 million is probably fair valuation, but then with everything that's gone on, would Newcastle accept something a little bit lower than that? I guess we'd have to wait and see.
What do you reckon, Chris? You're chief exec for the week. Would you be happy to settle somewhere in the middle, or is it 150 million, or thanks for coming, we'll have another chat in January?
Yeah, I think it's all dependent on who we bring in. If anybody really to replace the player, I mean, everyone knows we've been looking after or looking at Wissa as a target whose actions, we don't condone either. I think that's been pretty offside as well, really, the way he's treated Brentford during this window. But going back to the situation, Newcastle need two, I think, capable centre forwards of scoring, 10 to 15 goals in the Premier League each season before they even consider taking another bid for Isak. I'm kind of with Connor. I think somewhere between 130 to 150 would probably get it done, but it would be dependent on Newcastle having both those players in. And when you hear Eddie Howe talk, he's only talking about one player, and that's the Callum Wilson replacement, not the Alexander Isak replacement. I think we missed out on those targets, sadly, this window. And I think we missed the reason why, and that's probably stopped the deal from happening. And
it all comes down to timing. Like how long, if do they allow it to drag on through the week and how close it gets to Monday, they allow him to go because Liverpool and Newcastle have agreed a fee for 130 to 150 million. They got to be quick, domino effect to bring in the replacements. And again, Johan Wissa was the replacement to Callum Wilson. So how many you let Alexander Isak go, who Chris has just said, and rightly so, he's the third best, one in the top three strikers in the world at the moment. Like what in the country? Like where are we going with it?
Well, I want to come to you on the conduct of the players from a former player's perspective. We were talking a little bit about it in the break, and Chris touched on it there, that it's not just Isak who's behaved like this. Johan Wissa is similar. Are you getting a steer from an agent or an advisor saying you've got to really throw your toys out here to push this along, because we think we can get you out of here if you make it really difficult for the club? Because people like Chris and Connor and everyone watching at home pays their money for a ticket, and they're now seeing players for the teams they support say, I'm not playing because I'm not getting my own way.
Comes down to what you're being advised, obviously, from your agent, how you actually feel. And was he told down at the start of the year that he was promised that he could leave?
Which Newcastle are saying it was not the case.
They're the questions, and they're what you've got to answer. And ultimately, as you look at it, they both have acted disrespectfully to both clubs, Brentford and to Newcastle, the way they've gone about it. But ultimately, it's two ways you look at it. From a player's point of view, I know it's not going to sit well with everyone, but like I always say, when a club don't want you, they'll soon make it difficult for you. And now that's not me defending the players, by the way, and their actions that they're going about it, because obviously they're going about it the wrong way. But if they're being told this is what we have to do to get the move through, the interesting thing will be what we'll all have to look at is if both moves go through. Now, we both can say that they haven't conducted themselves well and respectfully to their football clubs. Chris, you said you're not happy with the way Isak's is going about his business, and nor you condone with Johan Wissa. But if they both get their move, then what happens? So that's what I said before. I think it's, unless Newcastle get 150 million, I think all the Premier League clubs are hoping this move don't go through. Not just because he'll strengthen Liverpool, but it's getting the power back from the players.
Some would argue they already have plenty of power anyway.
No, they do, but if this move goes through, both of them go through, now other players be thinking, well, no problem.
We'll all do exactly the same.
I'm not playing. Yeah, exactly.
Chris, just on what happens tonight, we saw the travelling fans sing about Alexander Isak last week at Villa, but only after the game had finished, as if to say, we're putting all our energy into the players who are out there while the match is on, and then we'll make our point. Do you think it's even more significant tonight, given that you're playing Liverpool, that you almost act like he doesn't exist and the scenario doesn't exist, and just focus on the game and those that are playing?
Yeah, absolutely. I think the away fans and the home fans are slightly different as well. I'm sure Conor will agree it's the same at Liverpool. You get a different kind of atmosphere. I mean, the home crowd at St James's Park 100% will be united behind Eddie Howe and the players on the pitch. They'll not sing about Isak. They might do it after the game like they did against Aston Villa, but in the 90 minutes of the game, all they'll do is back the players. And I mean, it's going to be an unbelievable atmosphere tonight. You couldn't pick a better game to televise, I think, across the world than the one you've picked tonight. The atmosphere, the ferocity, the intensity. There's going to be some new Liverpool players who are new to this league as well, in the shape of Ekitike and Florian Wirtz, and they're about to have a real baptism what the Premier League can be about tonight, I think, because this game is going to be so intense. But I back the Toonami and the Geordies that are in the crowd as well to back the players on the pitch and make them feel 10 foot tall. And we've seen almost the crowd roar the ball in the back of the net against teams that were way too good for us on paper. PSG teams, the Arsenal, as I mentioned before, was looking to be at the games. And yeah, I think we're going to have the same thing tonight. So they'll back the lads on the pitch and forget all about he who shan't be named until full time, I think. So.
Conor, we're just going to come to you in just a moment, having read out a couple of messages we've had on social media. One from Damien, who says, I'm expecting Liverpool to table a second bid 2 hours before kick-off to disrupt the dressing room and potentially the atmosphere in the stadium. And Michael says, as a Liverpool supporter, I don't want Isak. He's got no respect for Newcastle. He should be playing and wait and see if a higher bid comes in. What do you think, Conor?
Yeah, I mean, I'm glad that Damien's not a director of football operating against Liverpool, because that's some pretty harsh tactics there. Yeah, I think putting a bid in 2 hours before the kickoff tonight is pretty unlikely. We've heard throughout, and certain Newcastle fans have seen online, I'm sure would disagree. But we've heard throughout this window from Leverkusen and other teams such as that, how well Liverpool have conducted their business, and kind of, I think their director of football said it was gentlemanly throughout. On the face of it, and obviously none of us know what's going on behind the scenes, but on the face of it, Liverpool said they wouldn't go back in for Isak until they'd had some encouragement from Newcastle, and that hasn't happened yet. So I think it's pretty unlikely we'll see a bid 2 hours before the game. My hope is, for the sake of both sides, that they're probably letting this fixture get out of the way before they conduct any further business to stop it from distracting even further. And as for Michael's comment about wanting Isak as a Liverpool player, I've got to be honest that it has crossed my mind. I'm sure it's crossed the mind of many Liverpool players, many Liverpool fans rather. Sorry. You see a player act in the way that Isak has acted, trying to force his move and putting out statements the way he has, and overshadowing the PFA awards and things like that, especially as a Liverpool fan, where Salah did so well there once again. It's slightly taken the shine away from that, and you do start to wonder, is this the kind of attitude that we want at our club? We've done well in the past kind of few years, certainly under Klopp as well, with not signing players who brought a bad attitude and a bad feel into the club. You do sort of question it, but on the other hand, you got a player who's top 3 strikers in the world and could arguably outscore Salah this season. Then it's maybe you take the risk.
Chris, does this affect the two sets of fans at all in terms of the relationship between Liverpool and Newcastle supporters, or is it very much down to just the behaviour of one person, really?
Yeah, it's a funny one, isn't it? I think most Newcastle and Liverpool fans, probably match-going fans and sensible fans, we have a bit of a respect for each other. We're both very similar work cities, very similar type of fan bases. It's more probably the kind of furore online that's come through the back of all of this. A lot of mischief making, a lot of enticement going on. That's just the social media these days. I think if you had a Newcastle fan and a Liverpool fan, if Conor and I were sitting in the pub having a pint, we'd probably be quite diplomatic about this whole thing, I think, to be honest. But there's no animosity between Liverpool in that regard. I mean, we want to be where Liverpool are. We want to win titles. We want to be that team. Obviously we had a taste of a trophy last season against Liverpool in the final, where we won, and Conor's been very respectful there about how we played. So, Newcastle want to be that club. So we don't dislike Liverpool as a club, but I think this has definitely caused a bit of unnecessary animosity. I think if I could describe the whole thing, it's been unsavoury, I would say, between the whole situation. It's probably been driven by Isak's representatives, maybe in the player himself, but it has been a bit unsavoury.
That's what I have to pick up on what you said, Colin, and what you said there, Chris, is on the fans at Newcastle are disappointed with him, and the majority of them are saying, I don't want him to play for the football club again. I was saying some of Liverpool fans like thinking, do we want a player like that to come to the club? Is it going to disrupt the fan, the players and all that side of it? But he's being advised, some way along the line, he is being advised by someone, his own team, third party, whatever it is, he is being advised to act in a certain way. Unless it's coming off himself, which I'm maybe a small part of it, but he's been advised some way, I'm sure, that to act in a certain way to force this move through. And ultimately, he could be annoying two sets of fans here. Annoying his own fans that support him loyally and the Liverpool fans that are thinking, could he do that to our club?
Will we still be talking about this on deadline day, which is, of course, here next Monday? Plenty of build-up, plenty of coverage on Sky Sports News. A one-word answer then to finish from the three of you, starting with you, Chris. Where will Alexander Isak be playing on September the 2nd, next Tuesday?
Newcastle.
Connor?
Liverpool.
Charlie?
Newcastle.
We shall see. Thank you very much, gentlemen. Good to speak to you this morning.